The Omicron COVID variant hit holiday travelers across the country this weekend as sick airline crews prompted a slew of late cancellations. 1.7 million travelers have been impacted since Christmas Eve. Joining us right now with more on the pandemic travel this holiday season and what you can do if your flight does get canceled is Brian Kelly. He's the founder and CEO of The Points Guy. And Brian, what we heard about this weekend is the stuff of nightmares for many. You finally plan that trip, you get to go see family or go get away for the holidays, and your flight gets canceled. Happened to 1.7 million people. What would you be telling those people right now?
Well, the first tip I have is check your credit card insurance. If you book your flights on an airline or hotel or travel credit card, a lot of them have up to $500 per ticket in reimbursements you can get for all those extra fees. If you're stuck at an airport, need to rent a car, you know, the airlines are not legally obligated to give you a lodging or to reimburse you for all these other expenses. So check your credit cards. And in 2022, use credit cards that have that built-in coverage. It can be a game changer in getting reimbursed for all those big fees.
What credit cards do provide that?
Yeah, the Chase Sapphire, United Explorer, a lot of those travel credit cards. So there's two different types of insurance you should check up. It's trip delay, and then there's also trip cancellation. And trip cancellation coverage on Amex Platinum, for example, that'll even cover for weather incidents, which we saw this past weekend on the West Coast. So the airlines are stingy, whereas the credit card companies, they've got the dough. That's who you should be going to see if you can get any reimbursement.
What about if you watched what happened and now you're trying to make your plans for coming up in 2022? Are there things you can do when you're planning that trip to make sure that if you're in one of these situations, again, we don't know how this is going to play out, how things are going to go from here, but a lot of us want to get out and get back there. So what's the right way to go about booking those tickets for 2022?
And look, these delays and, mass cancellations are not over, unfortunately, especially with the rise of Omicron. We've seen this past year, American Airlines had a meltdown, Southwest, Spirit, and it's going to keep happening. So what I recommend is if you really need to get somewhere, book on another carrier in a fully refundable ticket or use your frequent flyer miles. You can book different tickets using frequent flyer miles. So say you book one for a couple hours later on a different airline, just in case your flight gets massively delayed or canceled. Yeah, with frequent flyer miles.
Wait a second, back that up. But Brian, that sounds like such a risky strategy. What if I want to take my whole family somewhere for spring break? You're saying book all of us on one flight and book all of us on a second flight? How do I make sure that I get the money back from one of them?
Yeah, so with frequent flyer miles, you can cancel in most programs up until the second of departure. So say you have a flight booked, all of a sudden that flight's canceled, you've got a backup reservation. Or if your flight leaves on time, you can cancel on your app and get all your miles back for that flight later in the day. That's something that the experts do. It's definitely not, a common tip, but look into the rules. Most frequent flyer programs let you book and cancel with a ton of flexibility. It's been one of the silver linings of the pandemic. So if you've got a ton of miles sitting around and you really want to go on that trip, it's an option to look into.
That sounds really sneaky, and I like it, because finally we get to be the ones who are being sneaky instead of being the ones who get hosed in the whole deal. All right, let's talk beyond this. If people are looking to travel internationally, there have been some concerns about whether you can travel, what the rules are, whether you're going to be able to get back as restrictions change. What would you tell people about international travel right now?
I would say, you can travel. A lot of countries are imposing strict lockdowns. The Netherlands, you're not going to be able to go to museums or pretty much go out after 5 p.m. So check the local rules and book nonstop. I can't tell you. These days, nonstop is key. Even if it's more expensive, try to avoid connecting. I know a lot of people who got caught up. They didn't have COVID tests because they were transiting through London, but the UK makes you have a negative COVID test, even if you don't leave the airport. So these days, things are really tricky. Try to book nonstop. And if you're traveling internationally, you must leave home with a proctored COVID test that'll allow you to get back into the U.S. Instead of spending your last day of vacation trying to figure out where you can get a COVID test, there are a ton that the U.S. will allow, the Binax Now proctored test, so you can do it in your hotel room and take the stress out of getting that test that you need, even if you're vaccinated, to come back to the U.S.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.